Let's just jump right in, because if you've been paying attention lately, you know something truly fascinating is happening. We are looking at a profound shift in global medicine right now, a moment where rigorous science and deep human healing are colliding in ways, honestly, we haven't seen in our lifetimes. So let's explore some of the most compelling medical data to come out of June 2026. In June 2026, millions of people around the world stopped asking whether psychedelics are dangerous and started asking whether they might change medicine forever. What's really so interesting about this evolution is that we are entirely past the era of counterculture recreation. For decades, our global conversation around mental health has been anchored in traditional psychiatry, right? And that's largely focused on just managing symptoms day to day. But this new paradigm, psychedelic medicine, is focused on deep, actual psychological transformation. Which brings us to the first massive scientific revelation of the month, and maybe the biggest question people are asking globally right now. For so long, we've relied really heavily on traditional antidepressants to keep our mental health afloat. But today, scientists, therapists, and just everyday people are daring to ask, wait, is there a more effective way to do this? To understand why this question feels so urgent, we kind of have to look at the stark reality of how we treat depression currently. Standard treatments, like SSRIs, usually require strict daily use for months before you even see an effect. And here is the really crucial, somewhat heartbreaking reality: nearly 30% of patients just don't respond adequately to them. I mean, that's millions of people left without relief. And that urgency perfectly contextualizes some groundbreaking data that emerged in May 2026. A randomized clinical trial published in JAMA Network Open showed something, well, extraordinary. Just one single 25 milligram dose of psilocybin produced rapid antidepressant effects within days. And for some of the participants, these really profound improvements were maintained for over 3 months from one single dose. That completely upends how we think about the speed of relief. The June 2026 findings from the Swedish Karolinska Institute backed this up beautifully. They found that a single guided psilocybin session reduced depressive symptoms significantly faster than our conventional everyday treatments. For the first time, researchers are seriously asking if we might actually move away from daily pharmaceutical dependency entirely. But the story definitely doesn't end with psilocybin. There's a deeply curious shift happening within the pharmaceutical industry itself. Just days ago, a major financial and medical story unfolded that has everyone whispering, is LSD actually making a pharmaceutical comeback? Well, the answer appears to be a resounding yes. A biotech company called Definium Therapeutics just announced a massive clinical trial success for their LSD-based oral treatment for major depressive disorder. It's known as DT120. In their phase 3 trial, patients saw an undeniable 8.1-point improvement on standard depression scales compared to a placebo. And again, that was after only one single dose. As you can imagine, the market reaction was immediate and staggering. Definium Pharmaceuticals stock surged over 55% in a single day. But what makes this so important isn't just the financial windfall. It proves that mainstream pharma companies are successfully taking a compound that carried enormous cultural stigma for decades, and they're transforming it into a highly legitimate, pipeline-ready medical treatment. So, you might be wondering, how is this actually happening inside the brain? It all comes down to an incredibly elegant biological mechanism called neuroplasticity. Psychedelics appear to dramatically increase the brain's ability to create brand new neural connections. We're not just talking about feeling better for an afternoon. This is about promoting long-term neural flexibility and actually supporting healthy brain aging from the inside out. Neuroscience researchers are absolutely obsessed with this right now. Over at UC Berkeley, they're studying how these compounds temporarily dial down the rigid, repetitive communication patterns inside the brain's default mode network. Basically, it shifts the brain from feeling stuck in a rut to becoming a flexible, open network. This incredible openness to change is exactly why scientists believe psychedelics might eventually treat PTSD, OCD, addiction, and even neurodegenerative diseases. Because the science is becoming so undeniable, the geopolitical landscape is shifting at lightning speed. Major nations are rewriting historical bans as we speak. Australia is already authorizing psychiatrists to prescribe. The U.S. has regulated access in places like Oregon and Colorado. Canada is expanding compassionate exceptions. And Germany is actively reviewing therapy frameworks right now. To truly grasp the sheer scale of this renaissance, consider this for a second.
Globally, there are currently more than 200 active clinical trials studying psychedelic compounds. Think about that. This isn't a fringe movement anymore. It is a massive, highly coordinated, worldwide scientific effort. Now, alongside these macrodoses in clinical settings, there is another massive conversation happening: microdosing. People from tech entrepreneurs and artists to parents and folks managing ADHD are taking sub-perceptual doses for focus, creativity, and emotional regulation. But science is currently debating a big question. Does it actually work through direct pharmacological action, or is it a really powerful placebo effect, fueled by expectation? Observational studies definitely show improvements in mood and cognitive flexibility, but the science hasn't fully landed on a verdict yet. And because interest is at an absolute all-time high and misinformation is everywhere, education is more critical than ever. Actually, that is exactly why I wrote my book, How to Start Microdosing. It's designed to be a practical, evidence-based guide, because experimenting blindly with your brain is simply never a good strategy.
Which leads us to a much more uncomfortable yet deeply necessary conversation. As interest peaks, luxury psychedelic retreats have just exploded globally, in stunning places like Peru, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Portugal. They offer beautiful settings and promise profound healing. But we have to step back and ask, are these retreats actually safe? The tough reality is that this luxury retreat industry is growing way faster than the necessary medical regulations. Currently, there are critical safety gaps in this space. If you're going, you absolutely must ask, are the facilitators medically trained? What psychological screening actually happens beforehand? What is the protocol if severe trauma suddenly emerges? And is there actual emergency support on standby? We just cannot ignore these risks. This is exactly why returning to essential, responsible protocols is vital. Whether you're in a clinic or exploring responsibly, the steps I outline in my book really remain the same. Step 1 must always be deep education and proper psychological screening. Step 2 requires strict, safe dosage protocols. And Step 3, setting realistic expectations. You have to respect these powerful altered states.
So, as we look at the data from 2026, the core thesis becomes incredibly clear. Our global mental health systems are under enormous pressure. Burnout and depression are rising everywhere. Traditional treatments do help many, but definitely not all. This era of psychedelic medicine is not magic. It's a desperately needed evolution in psychiatry, shifting us, finally, from mere symptom management to actual, lasting psychological transformation. I want to leave you with this lingering thought. The world is no longer asking if these molecules are dangerous. The world is asking, will psychedelics become the greatest medical breakthrough of this century? It is a profound shift to witness. I invite you to explore more of this research on my educational website, because informed, curious people like you will shape exactly where this beautiful movement goes next.